I'm Dean, I'm the dad.
I'm Laura, I'm the mom.
And I'm Krysta, I'm the daughter.
And together we are...
Family
Plot.
Where were you?
I was there.
Where'd up?
I was there.
I felt like you got lost for a minute. It's like you took the detour.
Well, you know, sometimes you got to take the detour. Otherwise, how would you get to see so much of life's sweet beauty?
That's true. We took a long detour in our...
If you don't take the detour, how will you see the flower?
Well, if you take the detour, you don't get the squirrel or something. It was in a movie. It was called Rat Race.
Well, that last line was from it.
All right.
We are definitely starting off our show with...
weirdness. Definite weirdness.
Yes.
Lots
right
of
up
weirdness.
our alley.
Yep.
Well, thanks for listening, y'all. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. What can I say that I usually say? If you want to support the show, a few ways you can do that. Monetarily, there's Patreon, where you can do $1, $3, $5, and I believe $10 donations.
And anything would help right now, because we're kind of in a show pickle. We'd like to be able to post next week's show, so anything extra you could send our way would be great. Sorry, go ahead.
Also, let's see.
I threw him off.
Yeah, you kind of did. So, yeah, 1, 3, 5, 10, I believe are the donations, and it's a monthly thing, so... Yeah, just, that's one way. Another way, you can do a one-time donation through Buy Me a Coffee. The easiest thing to do is if you enjoy the show, share it on social media. If you don't enjoy the show...
Keep it to yourself.
Thank you, Krysta.
Thank you, Krysta.
Yeah.
Coming in right where I pointed at you to come in at. That's so awesome.
Wow, you had to throw her under the bus like that. And you wonder where she gets it.
I didn't throw anybody under any buses.
You kind of did.
You throw me under the bus.
Just like where I pointed at you to come in.
I was trying to be funny, but
yanking her by her weave.
I ain't yanked nobody in this family by their weave yet.
Mostly because we can't afford a weave.
Again, I ain't yanked nobody by their weave yet.
I haven't got that kind of cash, y'all. So, hey, honey, what are we talking about?
I'll get there eventually.
Okay.
Today, we discuss the Wendigo. First appearing in Marvel Comics in The Incredible Hulk, issue 162.
Honey?
Yes. After becoming a villain for the Hulk, though, he eventually became a villain for Wolverine, who's one of my favorites.
Dean!
Yes! Oh, hey! Wrong intro. Let's try that again.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Algonquin people of Canada and the northern U.S. used to tell stories of the Wendigo, a monster that was once a human, a creature that could possess them in dreams or just took over them when they were trapped in the winter with no food, but with one or more friends and family nearby. If you cannibalized another person, you suffered from the curse of the Wendigo. Pretty cool, ain't it?
If you say so. Yeah.
Only if, you don't...
Only if by cool you mean sick and twisted. But, hey, before we get to that, don't we need to do something else first?
We do. Something that has to do with Krysta. Oh, yeah. Krysta has facts today.
Hello, welcome back to the Fact Corner. My name is Krysta, and I will be sharing your facts.
Thank you, Krysta.
Thank you, Krysta.
Now, before we move on to the facts, today's facts are about deer.
Deer?
Deer.
Oh, dear.
Oh, ugh, hun.
Well, dear me.
Oh, no. Okay, how do I start this? Today's facts are from pals.com. These are not the only facts that are on here, so make sure to go check them out. And let's get started, shall we?
Go right ahead.
I'm waiting for you to dish out some facts. I guess I'm editing that out.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, you probably.
Is this a yawn fact? What? I'm so confused.
That was not required before the fact.
It certainly wasn't required after the fact.
Either way, it was.
Well, after the fact, it was just more unimportant. Sorry. Go ahead.
Let's start with this first one. Deer can sprint up to 30 miles per hour and leap as high as 10 feet and as far as 30 feet in a single bound.
That's cool. How come the ones that I've hit with my car have never once jumped over it?
How many deer have you hit with your car?
2.
Wow.
I used to live in Atchison, Kansas. You know what's around Atchison, Kansas? A lot of land. You know what lives in that land? A lot of deer.
I see.
You know what they tend to do? Hop out in the road without giving any indication that they're going to do that.
Well, God tried to outfit them with turn signals, but the hardware kept breaking. Thanks. I thought that was rather cute myself.
Well, almost as cute as you, baby.
Aww. Sweet talker. Krysta, you were saying?
Yeah, that was my first fact. I was just waiting to see what you guys would say about that. Because that's kind of scary to me. If I saw a deer bouncing at me, I'd probably scream and run.
Yeah.
Stop, drop, and roll. Nah, it's more like
No.
stop, wait, and run.
Absolutely. Get the F out of the way.
That's number 2. 1 in 30,000 deer is an albino.
Cool.
So, there's white deer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that weird to you somehow?
It is. It is. I've never seen an albino deer. And if I did, I think I would
My guess is that an albino deer probably sticks out quite a bit and probably doesn't really end up making it long enough to be seen by humans for the most part.
That could be. That could be.
It seems to me that albino
or they're just
deer
really
would
uncommon.
It won't. Still, but
1 in 30,000.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, they could die really easily since they're not like.
I'm just saying they're not your average run of the mill deer. So they probably. My guess is that they're not able to camouflage very easily. They probably die fairly young, if not extremely young, frequently.
Wait. Are we sure they're deer?
Yes, we're sure they're deer, Dad.
Because, see, the reason I ask, because in Marvel 1692, Virginia Dare got the power to change into any animal. She was just completely white when she changed into it. So it could be Virginia Dare. We could be living in a Marvel comic book.
This is an albino deer.
That's creepy.
That is creepy.
Santa would run screaming from that.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think they're cute. Look at them.
No, I don't want to look at them. They look like they're infected with the virus from The Last of Us.
Listen,
That does not look like a clicker.
Yes, it does. Or wait, no, it looks like a stalker, but still.
They look pretty.
All right, we'll agree to disagree on this one. What else you got for us, Krysta?
Look at the little guy.
No, I don't want to look at it. It's creepy.
I agree with your father. It's creepy.
You just don't know the beauty.
No, you're right. You're right about that.
I think they're very pretty. Deer can become rabid, so watch out. A September 2010 Pennsylvania rabies report listed six white-tailed deer out of the 312 total positive rabies causes for the year to date.
Whoa.
By comparison, Maine had no rabid deer through the date last year, and none through June 2011.
So
Just
what?
lots of foxes.
So what you're saying is, in the main,
Skunks,
deer aren't rabid.
That's what she said.
skunks, and a single sheep.
A single sheep was rabid?
That's right, a rabid sheep.
Rabid sheep?
That's right, a rabid sheep.
Oh, watch out for the poor grass. That poor sheep's going to tear it up.
Can you imagine getting attacked by rabid sheep?
Mom.
I don't know. I've seen the movie Black Sheep, so yes, I can.
Oh my gosh, man. Mary would have flipped her shit.
I don't know. I think this fact is kind of bad.
I think this is a bad fact. But it was good.
It was awful.
It was so good.
That was so
It's
bad.
definitely classified as a dad joke, and considering that's what he is, I feel like it was fair.
And go cry. Okay, during the spawning seasons, May through June of 2005 and 2006, 13 confirmed incidents of white-tailed deer attacking humans occurred on the campus of Southern Illinois University, Carbondale.
Wow.
Well, that's not too surprising.
I almost started singing like Paul Simon a minute ago. I was going to sing Earl, Call Me Earl. You were.
See, it's Call Me Al, by the way, not Earl.
Oh, that's right, Owl. Yeah, I had the whistle in my ear right now because
But see,
it's like he was going to play the bongos over here.
that's not incredibly surprising because down in Louisiana, they have a body farm where they just throw bodies to let them rot so scientists can study the science of decomposition to help people solve crimes, right?
That's one of those jobs.
Yeah, it is one of those jobs. But
You can't believe it's actually a job that someone actually gets paid to throw dead bodies into a field to rot.
But there is a picture of a deer that got into that area, and it's got a rib in its mouth, like a person's rib.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, if it comes to a dire need of eating food, these guys will eat whatever they need to.
Obviously.
Because one of the facts that I'm not going to read out loud today,
Well,
Or-
you
well,
might
now
as well
I am.
at this point.
but I wasn't going to because I wasn't going to do an extra fact, but I guess this is an extra fact now. White-tailed deer have been known to opportunistically feed on nesting songbirds and field mice.
Ooh. Wow.
So they're not just herbivores. If they need to, they will eat meat.
Anything to keep them going.
Or they just got sick of people telling them they couldn't.
Or they've all seen Bambi and they're like, yeah, you're going to pay now.
That's right. The bird pissed them off. One too many times getting crapped on by a passing swallow.
If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all.
Don't look at me, I'm nice.
So what's the next fact, Krysta?
Oh, that almost was really inappropriate.
Yeah, you're already dropping, S-bombs and F-bombs.
Yeah, but that one.
You are being the queen of inappropriate today.
That one though, I almost went like way off the rails.
Deer have dichromatic, two-color vision, while humans have trichromatic vision. So what deer do not see are the oranges and reds that stand out so well to people.
Is that why people wear?
Which is why blaze orange doesn't make hunters appear more noticeable to deer.
Because they can't see the orange. That's so dastardly, though.
Yeah, it's
that's like people figuring out a way to utilize the invisibility powers from Marvel.
Well, I was going to say, it's like, some sort of cryptid, like having green screen capabilities. Yeah, you can't see me. I'm hidden in the green screen.
Yeah, just like that.
That would be unfair.
That's it.
That's it?
That's it. That's all.
That's all the facts?
All the facts.
All the facts. All the facts. Well, thank you, Krysta, for all the facts.
Yeah.
That was wonderful, Krysta. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm going to try to behave so that you can tell us about Wendigo.
Wendigo where?
When to go out, when to come in, Wendigo.
Boop! I win! I booped Krysta, and thus I win. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Algonquin people, because it is their legends that the Wendigo comes from. The Algonquin people lived mostly in southeastern Canada and northeastern United States. Their name comes from a Malakite word that means either they are our allies or they are our family, which makes me think that the Algonquin might be kind of redneck Indians. Because, if, like, the neighbor, some of the neighbors were walking down the street and our friends were like, who's like, oh, that's our family.
Family?
Yeah, it's that kind of.
Gotcha. Yeah, I see where you're going with this.
So, yeah, it just makes me think that maybe they're a little bit redneck for Indians. They were a semi-nomadic people who mostly hunted and fished, traveling light, making homes from animal skin. Used to the cold winters of the area, it's not surprising they told tales of what happened to those trapped by the snow for long periods of time. They also farmed a little, not a lot, but a little. But obviously, I'm not sure how that worked being semi-nomadic. Maybe they were in one place for a while and just long enough to do a growing season of whatever it is Algonquins eat.
Maybe.
Anyway, so those are the Algonquins, and that is where this comes from. Now, the Wendigo has a lot in common with other Native American legends, like, for example, the Skinwalker has some things in common with the Wendigo. But, yeah, so...
Yeah, initially when I saw the notes, I was like, didn't we already talk about them? And then I realized that I was confusing Skinwalker with Wendigo, so...
Yeah. Now, the Wendigo was often described as a 15 feet tall creature, its bones jutting from its skin and make huge protrusions. Its skin was too tight. Its upper body was often described as being like a deer's body, complete with legs, but an antlered skull where the head should be. Yeah.
You started talking about Wendigos and my bones started going crazy.
Now, the creature was believed to have many powers. It could invade the dreams of nearby sleepers, possessing them and turning them into Wendigos as well. It could shift its shape back into the person it had been to hide among its community, or take the shape or speak with the voice of any person it had devoured.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Skinwalker, it was a beast of powerful and dark magic, and the Algonquin feared it.
Wow.
And since they're busy fearing it, I think we should take this moment for a word from our sponsors. Now.
Honey.
Yes.
Guess what?
What?
I feel sponsored.
After 2.5 minutes, I hope so.
Well, that's what editing's for, dear.
So, we've covered what the Wendigo looks like, or what the Algonquin said it looked like. Now, according to Marvel, it's big white furry beast with claws, but we're not dealing with the Marvel version.
But
we're
not allowed to talk about Marvel stuff. We are talking about something totally different.
Well, actually, the Marvel Wendigo is based off of the Wendigo because the writer who created it, Herb Trimpe, I want to say, felt like the creature would be a natural villain for the Hulk, and it's got kind of a sad story too, because the thing that causes a Wendigo to become a Wendigo is, a human eating human flesh. So
sure,
yeah.
Why don't we talk about comic stuff? Ooh, oh, hey, that's a good. We should do a show on that.
On what?
On comic stuff tying into paranormal stuff, or comic stuff tying into different cryptids and like the reasons that they connect the two. That could be several shows. That could be a whole series of shows.
That could be a whole nother podcast.
Well, that too. But hey, if those turned into really popular shows, then we would know, hey, we should do a whole podcast on that. See? This is how we branch out.
I see.
What? I'm sorry, I'm having good ideas over here. I love you.
I love you too.
So we were talking about the Wendigos and what they influenced. I'm sorry if I messed up where you were at. Go ahead.
It's fine. I'm not. At this point, we're just going to tell some of the tales of the Wendigo. And chances are, if you've heard the Wendigo tales, you've heard these before, but we're still going to tell them our way.
Okay.
Now, let's start with Beaton's tale. Beaton, Beatton, was a trapper who worked for the Hudson Bay Company. And that I may be mispronouncing his name. He may have been French, and so it may be Beton or something like that. But
be on.
But he was married to a Cree woman, and Cree being one of the Algonquin tribes.
Mm.
And so when several Cree turned up at the company camp, he spoke to them. He discovered the men believed that one of their number had become possessed by the Wendigo. So he traded with the Cree, selling them several guns and giving them his knife. The men then returned to their camp, shot the afflicted man several times, and stabbed him with Beaton's knife, pinning him to the dirt floor of his tent. Dirt floor of the... Oh, yeah, so of his tent. They then fired the pistols repeatedly to scare off the Wendigo spirit and any other evil spirits that might be hanging around, and they left. Sometime later, the body of the afflicted was found by the Royal Mounted Police, and Breton came within a hair's breadth of being arrested for the man's murder, as his knife was identified as the blade pinning the dead man to the ground. So what do you think of that, Krysta?
That doesn't sound good.
Would you like to meet a Wendigo?
No!
Up close and personal?
No.
Why not?
I don't want to die that way.
I think Demix could be a Wendigo.
Nah, he hasn't killed me yet.
So that was the story of Beaton or Beton. I'm not sure which. The only thing the moral that I'm taking from this story is if people come to your camp and need a knife to kill a Wendigo, don't give them your knife. Because if they leave it there, you could be charged for murder. And that's a hard explanation. Well, see, these local people needed it to kill a Wendigo. Uh-huh. Sure they did.
Yeah, seems like a hard sell.
Yeah. So the next story is the tale of Swift Runner. Now, this is actually a pretty famous Wendigo tale. In fact, I think it might be the most famous. Swift Runner was an Algonquin who lived in Alberta during the 1870s. He traded with the Hudson Bay Company, was a respected trapper, and even led the Canadian Mounted Police in their endeavors from time to time. He was a married man with 6 children. In the winter of 1878, he turned himself over to the Canadian Mounted Police, claiming that he had become possessed by a Wendigo. Returning to his camp, the RCMP discovered his family had been murdered, and someone had cooked and eaten their flesh.
Oh, boy.
They arrested Swift Runner, who was tried, then hung, at Fort Saskatchewan in 1879. So, Krysta, you want to go hang out at Fort Saskatchewan?
No, I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah.
Sounds like Apollo wants to go. Or maybe he just smells some chicken nuggets that we're going to have for dinner.
He probably smells chicken. So let's talk about Jack Fiddler.
Jack Fiddler.
Jack Fiddler.
That is a great name. Start off with that.
Jack Fiddler and his brother Joe were well-known Wendigo hunters in the late 1800s. He and his brother claimed to have successfully killed 14 Wendigo, an insurmountable feat among the Cree Indians. Some Wendigo he discovered and hunted on his own. Some he was called in by the family of the person suffering the Wendigo curse to put them down. Jack was legendary for his ability to conjure animals and protect his people from spells. How does one conjure animals or protect people from spells? I'm not sure, but apparently Jack had it figured out.
Jack was a rock star.
In 1907, he and his brother were both arrested for the murder of a woman. Jack claimed the woman had been a Wendigo. Now, Joseph committed suicide shortly after his arrest. Jack wasn't convicted, however. He got sick in jail and died at the age of 87 and is known among his people as the Wendigo hunter.
Wow.
So, you meet any fiddlers in, Canada or the northern U.S., you might ask them if they have an ancestor named Jack.
And then if you're a Wendigo, run!
So, now there's something else referred to as the Wendigo psychosis. Okay, I'm not sure why that's funny.
There's something about the way it's said. Wendigo
Psychosis.
Wendigo psychosis. It sounds like a how-to manual.
Probably not, but the native Algonquin tribe of the Cree and other groups living in the northern Ojibwe area describe a psychological or mental condition that results from the Wendigo. In the 1960s, the disorder was a source of much clinical intrigue that sparked several psychological studies. To the indigenous people, it was predominantly a spiritual sickness arising from dark forces in the forest. Alternatively, a person's soul can infect someone who cannibalizes that person. In essence, it was an ailment of the mind that manifested in intense waves of acute cannibalistic behavior, almost like a zombie. The longer the condition remains, the more control the beast exerts. Over time, the person will change from a human being to that of an unrecognizable and horrific beast, at least mentally. It will then reside in the forest, preying on those therein with an unquenchable hunger for human flesh. One study in the 60s pragmatically determined that the conditions is due to other factors such as famine and chronic loneliness, which is called anthrosource, apparently. And doctors sought to treat it with modern medicine in place of traditional methods within the indigenous groups. Now, to this day, that Wendigo psychosis exists. It is a little-known psychological disorder that is almost strictly defined as to indigenous people.
Wild.
But I honestly think that part of the Wendigo legend is less about the Wendigo itself and more about morality. We've talked before about how Native Americans had sort of ideas about the way the world worked and rules about how they lived and operated in that world. Well, I think the Wendigo was really their way of kind of warning one another about the dangers of eating human flesh and what it would do to you. And I mean, I suppose one can eat people without any real physical ailments, but the psychological ailments are probably pretty...
You would think.
And especially if it's someone you know.
Right.
You know. So it's... So yeah, I honestly think that the Wendigo, I seriously doubt anybody turned into... And as cool as it sounds, and it would still be dangerous, but I seriously doubt anybody is turned into a 15-foot tall, deer-looking zombie that eats people ever on this planet. But I think that was just a way for these indigenous people to warn each other, hey, I don't care how cold the snow gets, you know, figure something else out. Don't... Which, and the thing is that it's hard for me to believe, too, to some degree, that the Native American people ever resorted to cannibalism. Because...
I don't know why you would find that hard to believe, though.
Because I remember when I lived in, like, South Dakota, there are Native Americans who live up there. There's actually quite a few reservations.
Yeah, of course.
And so when it gets really, really cold, though, they will, like, scrape the snow and, like, they will find edible plants that way. Yeah. And that's what Why?
Okay, but I think you're thinking of it in too narrow of a view. We're not talking about a Native American eating food to survive necessarily in cannibalism, but I know that there were like warrior rituals and stuff where they ate pieces of. I'm sure there are peoples that did that, and it might even be their ancient societies in Native American cultures, but I'm still sure that there at some point were people that was part of.
Well, in Africa, absolutely, we know that several tribes would eat.
But I don't think it's just. I don't. That's what I'm saying, though. I don't think it's just I believe that we must have had, early Americans who had similar types of rituals at the very dawning of.
I suppose that could be the case. It just. The Wendigo to me seems less a real creature or even an attempt to describe a real creature than it is an attempt to warn people, hey, don't do this. It's a cultural admonition in the shape of a monster. But that being said, the Wendigo have certainly wound their way into pop culture.
Right.
The Wendigo has obviously appeared in Marvel Comics as a foe for both the Hulk and Wolverine, as we said at the beginning. It has appeared as a D&D monster and a monster in the game Call of Cthulhu. It has appeared in episodes of Supernatural, Grimm, and Hannibal. It even turned up on the misunderstood series Lost Tapes. It even kind of made its way into the short stories of the book Cabin 187 by longtime friend Dan B. Fierce. In fact, the Wendigo, while not mentioned by name, is certainly hinted at in the movie Ravenous.
Mm.
Weird little Western. Diedrich Bader's in it for half a minute.
Okay.
But basically, yeah, it's a movie about this Civil War soldier that is basically sent to this backwards fort because he sort of embarrasses a lot of politicians because he doesn't like these people are eating bloody steaks and he just can't do it. Being on the battlefield just ruined him. And yeah, so long story short, he finds that this guy is living out in the forest eating people, and he keeps sneaking into camp and killing people and eating more of them. So yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. Ravenous. Interesting movie. I haven't seen it in a minute, but it stars, the guy from Angela's Ashes and
no clue.
The Full Monty.
No, it still lost me.
He was Rumpelstiltskin on that one show.
What one show?
I don't know. I don't know. I cannot remember his name. But if you saw him, you'd know who I was talking about.
Oh, yeah. See, I don't know names. I know a couple of names. And they're not even people that I see faces, Hal's and Jaffe.
So
Matthew Mercer.
Krysta, what do you think?
About the Windy Boy?
Wendigo, yes.
Go, not Bo. Go!
I don't want to say his name just in case.
Go, Bo. Go,
Bo. Trouble here.
Bo. Go, Bo. Go, Bo. Go, Bo. Go. Anyway, sorry.
But, yeah, I have no reason not to believe it's there, and I want to give it all of my respect to make sure it doesn't try to eat me. So
what you're saying is you don't want to go to southern Canada? To the Algonquin territories?
Not today, George.
No George, no Joanne, I don't care what your name is, I ain't joining you.
Did you look up a Wendigo? Because they do have pictures of them online.
I ain't looking up a
looking. They are freaky looking.
Don't show me a picture of one of them. I will have nightmares.
Nah, they're not that freaky looking.
I will have nightmares.
You will not.
Are you going to look one up for her?
Although I was going to, but I'm having trouble figuring out how to work my computer.
I don't want to see a windy boy.
Why not?
I just don't want to.
Wendigo are so much fun, though.
No.
Okay, fine. You don't want to encounter one. You want to run into one in D&D?
Yes.
Oh.
That's it.
One.
Krista, it's almost a furry. Look.
It's not furry.
It's almost a furry.
Mama.
It is. Look, it's got horns and...
It's a cosplay, Ma.
That's a Wendigo, Chris.
We might have solved this. Wendigos just are furries that went back in time.
Back in time, who really liked red meat. Are people considered red meat? I'm sorry, that was really distasteful.
I've heard us more favorably compared to pork.
Oh, so pork is the other white meat. So, I mean, everybody's okay with white meat, though, right?
What is wrong with you two?
We're freaking out, Krista.
So what about you, hon?
I probably shouldn't give independence tonight. I'm a little off.
You're definitely off, but...
Yeah. Off the hook.
So where do you think the origin of the legend comes from? How about that? Let's ask a specific question.
Oh, I'm sure Native Americans.
But do you think they're describing like an event that happened, or do you think they're trying to
describe an event like you need like one specific event that's just blown up into this massive story? Is that what you're asking?
I'm just okay, like I said. For me, I think the stories are just a cultural admonition. Don't eat the flesh of your brothers, basically, or sisters, or anyone, really. Don't eat people food, flesh, you know? That I think it's a cultural admonition, but it's one they put in the shape of a monster to really drive it home.
Okay.
And it's
I can see that.
It's a little weird to me in that there is a group of people in Call of Cthulhu. I want to say they're the Cho-Cho people. Okay. They're cannibals. They eat other people. And in fact, they turned up in that Call of Cthulhu game I was running out in Merced.
Right.
They had a restaurant in Vegas where they were serving people to other people. But anyway, yeah, so the Cho-Cho people...
There's a movie about that. They just did, where they take them to an island and they're serving them food made from other people. The invitation is the vampire one. It's the other one, the dinner or the restaurant, or it's got like a name of a... Anyway, I'm sorry.
Well, but the point is that anybody who eats with the Cho-Cho and accidentally ingests any bits of people tends to have these dreams where they're lustily eating at a cannibal feast. And it's kind of the same thing that goes on with the Cree. Swift Runner talks about...
People are just kind of like spicy Mexican food. When you eat a piece of it, it just doesn't agree with you.
But see, what the point I'm trying to make is Swift Runner. That story, he talks about how for weeks he was tormented with the thoughts of eating his family.
Yeah.
And that was weeks before he did it.
But that doesn't come across to you as spiritual as opposed to just... How do you think that we get to the point where they get this cultural admonition? Because you're saying that this is I just am not sure where that comes from. You know what? I get it. I'm confusing myself.
I'm saying it's a cultural admonition because at some point, the shaman, the chief, somebody figured out, hey, if we go around eating one another when it's really cold, that's not going to be good. Maybe we got to find a way to encourage people to stop doing that. And so the Wendigo was born. That's what I'm saying, is that it was a way to sort of shake the finger of God into the faces of the indigenous children. It's like,
right.
No, don't do this.
Gotcha.
And that's really sort of where I think it comes from. Because while there are a handful of modern day Wendigo appearances or sightings or whatever, I just don't really see anything beyond the folklore here.
I think that brings us to the end of our show.
Pretty much. So that's our show. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Bill Barron, who does our theme music. And if you need music for a project, Bill's your guy. He works very well, very cheaply, very respectfully. You name it, he does it. And that's Bill. You can reach him at Bill Barrent, and that's spelled BEHRENDT. That's how you spell his last name, at sbcglobal.net.
Appreciate you, Bill.
Thanks to Paige Elmore of Reverie True Crime for doing some logo art for us and wanting to get together with Krysta and do some more. Thank you, Paige.
Thank you, Paige.
Thanks to Aaron Gnerk of the Big Dumb Fun Show, who does some promotion for us here locally. Join us next week as we present our Valentine's Love episode. I'm going to get some love on. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.